On the warm evening of July 17, 1996, Transworld Airlines Flight 800 stood ready on the tarmac at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport. The Boeing 747 was a vessel of dreams and destinations, scheduled for a transatlantic journey to Paris, France. A diverse group of 230 individuals, including tourists, business travelers, and flight crew, settled into their seats for the overnight flight. Among them were 16 high school students and 5 chaperones from the French Club in Montourville, Pennsylvania. Their excitement for a European adventure was, absolutely palpable. The passengers represented 14 different countries, each with a unique story, all unknowingly bound together by a shared and imminent fate. The aircraft pushed back from the gate, its powerful engines roaring to life, and began its taxi toward the runway. After a slight delay, TWA Flight 800 was cleared for takeoff, ascending into the twilight sky over the Atlantic Ocean. For the first few minutes, everything appeared perfectly normal. The flight crew communicated with air traffic control and the plane climbed steadily toward its cruising altitude. On board, passengers were likely getting comfortable, maybe reading a book or anticipating the meal service. Below, on the ground and on boats dotting the Long Island coast, people enjoyed the summer evening, their eyes occasionally glancing up at the familiar sight of a plane traversing the sky. Just 12 minutes after its departure, at approximately 8:31 p.m., the routine flight turned into a national tragedy. Without any warning or distress call from the cockpit, the aircraft suddenly exploded in a catastrophic fireball. The massive Boeing 747 was torn apart in mid-air, its flaming debris plummeting into the dark waters of the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of East Moriches, New York. Eyewitnesses on the ground reported seeing what they described as a streak of light, or a flare ascending toward the aircraft, followed by one or more brilliant explosions that illuminated the night sky, a horrifying spectacle that would fuel speculation for years to come. The devastating event claimed the lives of all 230 people on board, leaving no survivors. The initial moments after the crash were filled with confusion and disbelief as rescue crews scrambled to the scene, only to find a vast field of debris and the heartbreaking reality that a rescue mission had become a recovery operation. The news spread rapidly, sending shockwaves across the United States and around the world. Families waiting for their loved ones in Paris received the unimaginable news, while the community of Montoursville was plunged into a state of profound grief. The crash of TWA Flight 800 was not just an accident, it was a profound loss that would forever alter the course of aviation history. The investigation into the crash of TWA Flight 800 became one of the most extensive and complex in the history of aviation. The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, immediately took the lead, but due to the eyewitness accounts of a streak of light and the era's heightened fears of terrorism, the FBI also launched a parallel criminal investigation. The first priority was the monumental task of recovering the victims and the aircraft wreckage from the ocean floor. A massive operation involving the United States Navy, Coast Guard, and hundreds of divers was initiated. They meticulously mapped the debris field and over many months, recovered more than 95% of the airplane. As pieces of the aircraft were brought to shore, they were transported to a large hangar in Calverton, New York. There, investigators began the painstaking process of reassembling the 747's fuselage, a giant three-dimensional puzzle that would be crucial to understanding what happened. Early theories ranged from a terrorist bomb to a missile strike, largely fueled by the initial eyewitness reports. The FBI explored every possibility, interviewing thousands of people and analyzing radar data, but found no evidence of a criminal act. The focus gradually shifted from an external cause to a mechanical failure within the aircraft itself. The reassembled wreckage provided the most critical clues. Investigators focused their attention on the center wing fuel tank, which showed clear signs of having been the origin point of the explosion. The NTSB's final report, issued after a 4-year investigation, concluded that the probable cause of the accident was an explosion of the flammable fuel-air vapor mixture in that tank. They determined that the ignition source was likely a short circuit in the aging electrical wiring that ran through the tank, which generated a spark powerful enough to ignite the volatile vapors. While the precise wire that sparked was never definitively identified, the board confidently ruled out a bomb or missile. This conclusion marked a pivotal moment, shifting the focus of aviation safety toward the hidden dangers within an aircraft's own systems. The hangar in Calverton, holding the ghostly reconstruction of Flight 800 became a solemn classroom for a generation of crash investigators, teaching invaluable lessons learned from the tragedy. For nearly 2 decades, it stood as a powerful reminder of the event and a tool to prevent future disasters until its decommissioning in 2021, when digital scanning technologies made the physical reconstruction obsolete for training purposes. The investigation closed the book on what happened, but opened a new chapter on how to make flying safer. The catastrophic failure of TWA Flight 800 served as a harsh but necessary catalyst for sweeping changes in aviation safety, particularly concerning the vulnerabilities of aging aircraft. The NTSB's findings sent a clear message to the industry. The complex systems inside an airplane, especially wiring and fuel tanks, required a new level of scrutiny. Before this disaster, the center wing fuel tank on a Boeing 747 was not widely considered a significant explosion risk. The investigation proved that under certain conditions, the empty space within the tank could fill with a highly flammable vapor, turning it into a potential bomb simply waiting for an ignition source. In response to these findings, the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, mandated significant design changes. The most important of these was the requirement for new and existing aircraft to be retrofitted with fuel tank inerting systems. This technology works by pumping nitrogen-enriched air into the fuel tanks, displacing the oxygen and rendering the fuel-air vapor non-flammable. This single change, directly born from the tragedy of Flight 800, is credited with preventing similar accidents and has become a standard safety feature on modern airliners, making the invisible danger of fuel tank explosions a relic of the past. Beyond fuel systems, the investigation also shed light on the potential dangers of aging electrical wiring. The NTSB recommended more rigorous inspection protocols and design improvements to prevent short circuits and arcing in wire bundles located near potential fuel sources. These recommendations led to industry-wide updates in maintenance procedures and manufacturing standards, ensuring that the intricate electrical networks within aircraft are better protected and insulated. The legacy of Flight 800 is now embedded in the very design and maintenance of the planes we fly in today, a silent guardian against a repeat of that terrible night. The aftermath also fundamentally transformed how the government and airlines respond to the needs of victims' families. In the chaotic days following the crash, families were desperate for information, but were often left in the dark, sometimes learning critical details from media reports before being officially notified. Their frustration and advocacy led directly to the passage of the Aviation Disaster Family Assistance Act of 1996. This landmark law mandates that the NTSB take charge of coordinating support for families, ensuring they receive timely and private briefings, as well as access to counseling and other support services from independent organizations like the American Red Cross, shielding them from the intense media spotlight. While the investigation and subsequent safety improvements addressed the technical failures of TWA Flight 800, the human loss remains the tragedy's most profound legacy. The 230 people who perished on that July evening are remembered not as statistics in a crash report, but as cherished individuals whose journeys were cut short. To provide a place of solace and remembrance for the families and the public, a permanent memorial was created. Located at Smith Point County Park in Shirley, New York, not far from where the aircraft fell, the TWA Flight 800 Memorial stands as a quiet, dignified tribute to the victims. The memorial's design is both elegant and poignant. A curved granite wall bears the engraved names of all 230 passengers and crew members. In the center, a lighthouse motif is carved into the stone, symbolizing a beacon of hope and guidance. The memorial grounds face the Atlantic Ocean, creating a direct and powerful connection to the site of the tragedy. It has become a sacred space where families, friends, and visitors can gather to reflect, to grieve, and to honor the lives that were lost. It ensures that future generations will not forget the human cost of the disaster. Every year on the anniversary of the crash, a solemn ceremony is held at the memorial. It is a deeply emotional gathering, where the names of the victims are read aloud, a heartbreaking roll call that reaffirms their memory. A central part of the annual ritual involves the presentation of 230 white carnations to the families in attendance, one for each soul lost. This simple, beautiful gesture serves as a powerful symbol of remembrance and solidarity, uniting the families in their shared grief and ensuring that their loved ones are never forgotten. The tradition provides a continuing source of comfort and community for those forever impacted by the tragedy. The legacy of TWA Flight 800 is therefore twofold. It is a story of engineering failure and the crucial safety improvements that followed, making air travel safer for millions of people around the world. But more importantly, it is a human story of devastating loss and the enduring power of memory. Through the lasting changes in aviation policy and the solemn granite of the memorial at Smith Point, the 230 people who boarded a flight to Paris on a summer evening in 1996 continue to have a profound impact, their memory serving as both a lesson and a blessing.